The consumer is our client. The consumer is the one that we service. The consumer is the one that's paying us, okay? And if we always stay customer first or consumer first, we'll never have an issue with doing the wrong thing. So the impact is this. Everything is negotiable. How do we now explain this to a buyer? How do we explain it to a seller? And do so in a transparent way that everybody knows what's going on. See, in the past, and here's a good example of this, of the past. When I knew about this case, in August a year ago, before the trial, I went to a research firm here in Orange County. Okay, they're a nationwide research firm. And I conducted a research assignment, if you will, okay, blind study with buyers. They found the buyers. We hired the mediator, had nothing to do with us. They didn't know who was behind the glass wall, had no idea. And we interviewed buyers for about 4 to 5 hours that day. Some of them were new home buyers, first-time home buyers. Some of them were experienced investors. Some of them were a lower price range. Some of them were a higher price range. And what we discovered from all of this, in a nutshell, like, where do we need to be? We thought we needed to be over here. So I was leading my management team and leadership team. They said, I asked them, where do you think we need to be? And they said, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this. I said, it just doesn't feel right to me. I think you're off. And they looked at me like I had 4 eyeballs, okay? Seriously. So we're sitting in this conference room, and I said, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to hire a research firm, and we're going to find out the truth about what they think about our industry, what they think about agents as a whole, and what they think about the potential changes. And we learned it was an aha moment for sure, because we actually went to the source instead of telling and trying to figure out what we thought, everybody would want or what they would think, what they would be thinking. So from that, we began to build a program around that said, how do we inform buyers? How do we tell them what the changes will be? Because I had a feeling, based on some other things that, some information I had, that this lawsuit was not going well for NAR, okay, and the defendants in the case. I felt like the plaintiffs were going to win. And I explained this to our brokerage over a year ago. And based on that, we began to train on this a year ago based on what buyers told us what they wanted.
What did they tell you guys?
They told us that they had no idea how the buyer's agent got paid. Many of them did. Not all, but many of them said, I don't know how much they get paid. I think it's 6% for a buyer's agent. They even said that comment, which was shocking to us. We all looked at each other like, what just happened? How could that be? How do they not know? Well, it's not on their closing statement. It's not anywhere. It's not transparent to a buyer, right? There's no way for a buyer to know unless they ask the agent, and the agent oftentimes is reluctant to tell them. That compensation to a buyer's agent only showed on a seller's closing statement or on a commission disbursement analysis provided by the escrow company.
So it didn't show anywhere else?
Nowhere else. In summary form, I could go on and on about it because it was fascinating. The lack of knowledge about how a buyer's agent was paid, the difference of opinion about would you pay a buyer's agent a commission when I sent a note in to the moderator. And remember this is totally a neutral situation and research project. The moderator did not know the name of my company. They did not know who was behind that wall. The panel members knew that there was somebody watching, but they had no idea who. No company name. None of them had bought a house from us either, okay, or sold a house through us. So we were getting what I consider to be fairly unfiltered information, okay? So they didn't know how much a buyer's agent was getting paid. Many of them thought it was an amount that was not even close. Some of them said I would never pay a buyer's agent. Some of them said I'd be happy to pay a buyer's agent. And some of them said, maybe, and if not, there was a couple people who said, 2 people said, I'm going to look for a platform online and do it myself. Or, better yet, for the amount of commission these guys get paid, I'll go get my real estate license in 4 months, and I have a license then, and I'll take the commission because it would be better off than paying a buyer's agent a commission. Okay, I understand that. So we got a variance of answers, and it was really clear to us that there was no clear path about what buyers thought, no clear thought about what buyers thought about how we were compensated, and there was a lack of perception of value to a buyer's agent attached to that. That's where we went to work and began to drive the value of a buyer's agent home with our own staff, our 500 agents or so.
If you like California Insider and you like to know what's going on in California, make sure to check out Epoch Times. This is a newspaper that started by a group of Chinese Americans because of human rights abuses in China, and now is starting to grow here. Make sure to go to the Epoch Times website and check out the California section, where you can get a lot of fresh perspectives on what's going on in California. Now let's go back to the interview. So based on your study, it's fascinating you were ahead of the curve on this. Based on your study, do you think that now that this settlement happened and now that this new ruling came about, do you think the buyer's side will get shaken up by the consumer that's thinking like that?
I hope so. You didn't expect that answer, I'm sure, but I hope so. Because here's why. What I'm finding and the feedback I'm getting is that buyers like it because they now know what's going on. They're fully aware. And why shouldn't they be? First of all. Second of all, they have the ability to negotiate a fee for their representation instead of having it set with, there's all sorts of levels of experience, intelligence, education in our industry. And yet the person who's getting a certain percentage, they could be brand new or they could be 20 years of experience and have sold thousands of homes. And yet they're both getting paid the same amount of money. In what industry does that make sense? So I think when you look at it from a consumer standpoint and our standpoint, the consumer is the one that should win. That's what we believe in. That's my value system. That's what we believe in at Seven Gables. So to the extent that a buyer is going to be happier knowing what's going on, they can negotiate the fees. And in addition to that, they know that somebody's representing them based on a form. Here's the upshot of what's happening. The level of professionalism has stepped up in the industry. We're hearing that. We're glad that this came about because actually agents are becoming more professional, which in turn means of the 1.5 million members of NAR across the country, we think that'll shrink by 20 to 30%. Agents leaving the industry who can't keep up with the changes, can't communicate and articulate their value properly to a buyer's needs, wants, and desires, what they want.